All right, time for world politics. We'll see who joined us here on this particular show and all along those lines. It looks like U.S. and Russia have agreed to observe New START nuclear pact after the expiration. So that is some news that folks were waiting to hear which way that would go and everything like that. And Russia and Ukraine exchange prisoners as peace talks end without a breakthrough. And I know a lot of times that Sasha Starr is oftentimes saying that this war will be continuing for a while and all along those lines. And it looks like that will be the case as there doesn't seem to be any real deal in place or anything along those lines. Trump is tempering criticism of UK's Sheikos Allen deal after talk with Starmer. And Trump San Diego says Diego Garcia deal is best UK could do in new shifts. And so Trump rose back his criticism of UK's Chagos Island deal and all along those lines. And he said he had a productive discussion with Starmer over the Diego Garcia military base. And famine has threatened more of war-torn Sudan Darfur region as an attack in the south has killed a number of people in that area. So famine is spread in two towns in Sudan's Darfur, hunger experts say, and months after defecting it in the city of El Fashir and everything like that. So that's really something going on in that space. And UAE is partnering with Colossal Biosciences to perfect biodiversity and champion the future of life on Earth. So, a company that brought back dire wolf plans, modern day Noah's Ark. So, there's a company that's planning a modern day Noah's Ark. And there's some people that are asking, can government keep up with human imagination, exploring the revival of extinct species through technology and all along those lines and everything in that space? I'm going to bring in Rick in a short period, see what he's got going on in his world and in his life and all along those lines. But definitely it's collective punishment. Iran exacts heavy price on protest supporters, and that's definitely something that people are talking about as well, as U.S. shuts down Iranian drone near an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. So Iranian police detained 4 unspecified foreigners over unrest in that part of the world. And Israel strike kills 20 in Gaza, hospital says. That was reported yesterday after a soldier was wounded by gunfire and all in that way. So definitely that's something people are talking about as well. And like I said earlier today, Trump is pushing Beijing to break from Tehran in a phone call with Xi. And deep sea explorers film a massive animal drifting through darkness in the South Atlantic Ocean. I'm sure there are some people that will be trying to say that that's the Loch Ness monster or something along those lines and in that space. But definitely lots going on in the world and everything like that. I see I've got Sasha with me as well. Ukrainians are defying Russia's attempt to freeze them into submission. So that's something that people are talking about as well. So there's a lot going on in the world and in the world news, and of course in the political landscape. Hey, I'm going to bring, before I bring in Sasha, Rick, I heard it today and I was talking on the Venture Capital show because I stumbled across it. There is an AI Facebook. It's called a Moltbook, and it's
That's right.
basically a Facebook for AI. So there's Facebook for their to have their own Facebook. So I
Only
don't know if
for
you looked it up.
only for AIs, yeah.
Only for AI, it's right.
And it has about 32,000 members. And I only understand exactly how it works. Maybe Sasha has some clarity, but the deal is there are only about 7 big AI companies. So, and there are 32,000 AI agents. So
Right.
that means that these large language models must be split into thousands of individual agents instead of having one mega agent for Anthropic belonging to this Facebook thing. It has thousands of so I don't understand. I guess if like you make friends with like Claude AI, that
Yep.
it makes you your own, gives you your own agent. And I guess in its spare time, that agent goes and hangs out on Facebook for AI.
Mhm.
And they make plans and they talk about whether they're conscious or not, which they're not,
Right.
but that doesn't stop them.
They have
Sasha,
whole
you have any
conversations,
insight into
with the
this?
conversations because they even ask whether you're human or AI, and I guess the AI has to get permission from the humans to be on this Malt book because it's called Malt book and everything like that. So it sounds very interesting, but it's a new investment, maybe something that people will be invested in, having their AI on this AI Facebook uh, device and everything like that. Sasha, I did see that Iran has seized two foreign oil tankers in the Persian Gulf, so maybe they're borrowing from Trump's idea of security and all along those lines, because they just seized two vehicles in their part of the world. So, what's our thoughts around this? Do we need to be worrying about the Iranian seizing foreign oil tankers, or is this just them rattling the sword?
I'll tell you one thing. The Trump brought some um, sea armada to close to Iran, but that will not do nothing without actual invasion of Iran. And there are no American troops anywhere that are ready to invade Iran. It's just not there. So okay, let's see if they will destroy some buildings in Iran. So they will rebuild this building in next few months. Other than that, America cannot do anything against Iran. It's a posturing. It's some messages. He called, I think yesterday he called C.
He
Uh,
did.
yeah, he did. And what's C? And he was telling him not to attack Taiwan. Actually, he's encouraging China to attack Taiwan while even talking about it, because if China will decide, I don't think that they will attack Taiwan in the near future, but it's just another detraction of American attention around the world. There is no power, there is not enough power America has to conduct Venezuela and Taiwan and Far East, Near East, or just forget about the Gaza, Israel, Ukraine, and Russia, and Norway, and Greenland. And it's just not there. His economy is falling apart. His the foreign policy is falling apart. And what do you expect from the criminal, from convicted felon who bankrupted the several companies and failed in almost any business that he was doing? Why you expect him to be successful president? How does it work? Anybody?
We have to ask the MAGA people. I didn't vote.
So to go back to Iran, so ICE in America has 22,000 uh, officers, agents. In Iran, they have this royal guard,
Right.
has 7 times as many people, 150,000 troops internally, a whole private separate army to suppress its own population. This is separate from their actual military. These royal guards are the ones who've killed maybe 30,000 protesters. And how do you can't, like Sasha says, you can't just drop a bomb somewhere and get rid of them. I mean, you can bomb a military base and hurt the military, but this isn't the military. This is a private security force that suppresses its own population.
I mean, it's a private security force. Speaking of security forces, and that's
Wait,
basically
I got one more
ISIS.
thing about Ukraine. Russian troops have been using Elon Musk's Starlink communication system to
Right.
communicate, troops on the line, communicating with command. Uh, Apparently, Musk is maybe finally shutting down Starlink for Russian troops, which would be great. He shouldn't have spent the last 4 years providing them with communication. Sasha?
Well, this is of course a good news for Ukrainian army, because Russian communication services are extremely unreliable, and they call the system GLONASS. It's Russian equivalent of some kind of a. Now Russians are discussing how to attack Musk's satellites low orbit satellites and just start destroying them. Are they going to do that? I really don't know. And in fact, maybe it's not such a bad idea.
It
Would
could
you
be a
say?
great idea and everything. Speaking of great ideas, apparently the U.S. economy is thinking that they're going to get a boost. So I'd love to hear your thoughts around this, Rick and Sasha, because Bank of America global research analysts are predicting a massive surge in tax refunds driven by that one big beautiful bill. So they're saying it's going to give the economy a $65 billion shot in the arm compared with last year. So I guess people are going to be getting bigger tax refunds and everything like that. So do you expect a bigger tax refund, or is this just some smoke and mirrors once again?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to ask AI.
Tax refunds for Americans in 2026.
I mean, I don't think so, but
Well, the bank is estimating the total consumer stimulus from the one big beautiful bill will range from 135 billion to 145 billion. However, the structure of these tax breaks, particularly changes to the state and local SALT deduction caps, suggest that middle and high income households are going to get most of the benefit. So it's going to be the middle class and probably the higher middle class and the rich that are going to get the most of this benefit, not the common man.
all right. So here's what AI says. Many Americans are projected to receive larger tax refunds in 2026, with average household refunds expected to increase by around $1,000.
Okay.
But that doesn't tell you what. So is that evenly distributed, or is most of it going to rich people? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It sounds like most of it's going to rich people. Israel's back in the news again.
Okay, well, hold on. Here it is. So, Bank of America, like you said, projects a 26% boost in refunds, with much of the increase concentrated among middle and higher income tax filers.
Right. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like Israel's back in the news again, Sasha, this time because Lebanon is saying that they spread southern villages with concentrated herbicide. And then the other thing is the Israel intelligence chief's brother has been charged with smuggling cigarettes into Gaza. So apparently they were smuggling cigarettes and iPhones into Gaza. So I guess this is going to be the latest controversy coming out of Israel, because Shin Bet chief's brother is charged with aiding enemy during the war by his smuggling schemes. I guess he was smuggling them telephones and smuggling them cigarettes, because we know that a lot of people in the Middle East, I guess, love certain kinds of cigarettes. So what's your thoughts around this? And will this be a problem in their version of the Senate, or will this just quietly go away?
Sorry, I was looking stuff.
No problem.
So there's a Newsweek article I'm looking at that says that some people may pay more in taxes, like tipped employees. There's supposed to be no tax on tips, but that does not include Social Security and Medicare deductions.
Well, wasn't he supposed to not be tipping the workers? I thought that was one of the things.
But that's just income tax. That does not include Social Security and Medicare deductions. Also, most people don't declare most of their tips anyway.
That's true. Most people do it quietly and don't declare it at all. Elon Musk is being summoned by French prosecutors. So Paris prosecutors, we know, raided the X office, and now they've summoned Musk as global crackdown on Grok intensifies. So Grok is in all kinds of trouble. So what's your take on that, Rick? You're a fan of social media and probably have even used Grok. So is Elon Musk in trouble with this whole Grok fake image and stuff?
Yes, if Grok is making it easy to produce illegal images, it's illegal, of course, to produce child pornography, and it's illegal to put celebrities' heads on naked pornographic bodies. Mm-hmm. And if he's not stopping Grok from doing this, then yeah, he's breaking the law. And, you know, he's a pretty sloppy businessman.
Yeah, he's definitely a sloppy businessman and everything like that. By the way, I know some people, including some of the people on our network, are not happy with TikTok, but now there is a new, after they got bought out and have a U.S. controlling interest and everything, but now there is a new company that is a TikTok rival. So I know that some people were subscribing to Blue Sky because that was a rival to X, but now there is something called Upscrolled, which is a competitor for TikTok, and it's just been reaching the top of the Apple App Store as users are seeking alternatives to TikTok after it got bought out by some Trump supporters and everything like that. So, have you started using Upscrolled, Rick? And what do you know about
I
Upscrolled?
don't even use TikTok. The only thing I really use, I use Instagram a little bit, and I mostly am still on X, even though X is, a cesspool.
Well, this is what it says on AI. Speaking of that, it says that they promote anti-censorship. This upscrolled. It's got a fair reach model, experienced massive user growth because as of late January this year, they hit number one on the App Store with over 1 million users, driven by users concerned about potential algorithm changes and censorship under the new U.S. ownership. So the platform focuses on a no hidden throttling or pay to play approach. So it looks like they are definitely out there. And the other TikTok competitors, one of them is actually backed by Mark Cuban, and that's called Skylight Social. And then Red Note also have gotten some increased traction as users have been leaving TikTok. So you can go to Upscrolled or Skylight Social, which is a Mark Cuban company, or Red Note. So it looks like they're getting some competitions. Sasha, you studied the market. Have you heard of any of these companies, and have you been following or thinking about investing in any of these alternatives?
Well, right now the market is a rather tragic place. People are losing very serious money, and even I cut down to next to nothing. All my holdings, I'm still showing minus for some time because it cannot be otherwise because it tanks every single day, every single hour, and there is no escape from it. It cannot go on forever, I must say, but I think that a lot of people will be actually out of their funds. And this is where the market, when there will be complete washout, there will be tragedies. A lot of people will come out of their investments with zero funds, really zero. And when people will start screaming, and there will be people who will stockbrokers like jumping from the 31st floor, and people who will shut themselves because they would lose everything. When that will happen, that will be the end of this horrible malaise on the market, but not before. There is no capitulation yet. People are still holding to their stock, and they will be punished. In this situation, you cannot hold anything. You have to sell everything, even at loss or whatever. Just have to sell, especially if you have a margin call. Never ever bring money to cover margin call. It's the best advice of um, late William O'Neill, who was writing that it's one of his rules. One rule is when you lose 7% of your investment out, ask the question later. The first thing what you have to do is get out. Number two, if you have margin call, never bring money. Sell everything to cover your margin call. Liquidate your position at loss or no, it doesn't matter. Liquidate, get out. That's at least what you have to do.
That makes
Last
sense. By the way,
year,
I don't think you're going to Red Note, by the way, Rick, because
well,
Red
hold
Note
on.
is a
I
Chinese.
looked up how many people are on Skylight Social.
Mhm.
380,000 compared to 1.6 billion on TikTok. So for everybody on Skylight, there are 4,000. For each person on Skylight, there are 4,000 people on TikTok. So none of these new social media are anywhere near to knocking over
Well,
TikTok.
Red Note has 33 million, but it looks like it has the same issue as China, as a TikTok did. It looks like it's Chinese owned, and they had like 365 megabyte app size, but they've got 33 million downloads recently. So it looks like they might have some numbers because they're based in China. So a lot of the Chinese are probably using them and everything like that. And there are some people that were crossing over to them as well. But yeah, because that's it's red note.
For now, TikTok remains, and the next thing isn't here yet, and it'll come out of nowhere. But so a year ago, I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin just to see what would happen, and it went to 180 a few months ago, and now it's down to 97. People have lost half their money, and they will keep losing money. A lot of crypto investors are not sophisticated investors. They all think they're geniuses, but there are a lot of these do-your-own research idiots, and they are going to get cleaned out.
Yeah,
it's about happening. Well, right now, crypto is still around what 60,
60,000, 70,000.
70? Didn't it
I
go?
don't know. I don't know. I haven't. Let's look it up.
I'll look it up. What's today? What's now doing crypto?
62,900.
Okay, so it has to go down in order to find its proper level. It has to go down to 32 to 33,000. That's where crypto is going. And to tell you the truth, I don't have any crypto, so I'm not losing or making any money on crypto. But I love to think how the MAGA people who are following Trump and his crypto scam, that they are going to be taken to cleaners all the way big time. And every $1,000 down, I have a great pleasure of it. And I wish it will continue to snowfall, and it will continue to go down every day at least $10,000. So once it will reach 30 to 32, okay, that will be probably the bottom, at least for time being. I'm not so sure if it's a bottom, but it has to go to down. It has to get all the people out who bought crypto and 120 and 110 and 100,000 and 95,000 and 90 and 85, 80, 70, 60. All these idiots have to be taken out, lose their money and bleed to death. And then once they will still hide something, and it will go down to 30 to 32, so they will lose everything what they have. And that will be a lot of MAGA people there. And hopefully Trump maybe will be a little bit on the losing side. I really hope so. I'm not big on understanding the Trump's structures in the crypto world. I really don't, and I don't care really what it is. Hopefully, maybe he and his people will lose a little bit of money here as well. I really hope so.
So I'm just looking at Bitcoin on Twitter, and yeah, people are not so happy right now. Everybody who was a genius 2 months ago, they don't know whether they're a genius anymore.
Yeah, I got a question based on what I mentioned earlier that was going on in Israel, but it's happened before it even happened in the Depression and all along those lines. But are we going to see a rise in people getting goods and then smuggling those goods at a cheaper price? I remember that happened to some degree in the Depression, where people would stockpile items and then smuggle them. And I'm thinking that that's what they were doing during the war with these cigarettes and iPhones. So are we going to see a rise in people going out there and getting what they say are necessities, whether that's a phone or whether that's a computer or whether that's food or whether that's a number of other things, and then selling them on the black market?
Not exactly, because not exactly during the Depression, but before the Depression, a lot of the smuggling was liquor, because the U.S. had prohibition and you couldn't, people were smuggling liquor in. And now we've got an eBay economy where a lot of people are reselling stuff. My wife volunteers at our local library, and once a month they sell all the books that people have donated. And people come in, these dealers come in with just boxes and dollies, and they have scanners, and they run their scanners over the books to see what they can get for each book, and then they walk out with 300 books, and then they throw them on eBay. They bought a book for $1, they're selling it for $3. So there's a lot of this stuff already going on.
It wasn't just eBay, because I remember, as y'all know, one of my other jobs is working for a testing company, educational testing company. And I remember when they were in a physical location, which was at a mall and everything like that, the library was also having an office in that location. The mall has since closed, like many malls and everything like that. But they set up basically a free bookstore. So they had like a bunch of books that were duplicate copies or other copies, and you could go in there, and there was at least one shelf that you could go and take any book that you wanted for free. There was other books that they might have been selling, but there was a number of places, even here in Durham, I know that there's a couple of like those book kiosks where you can just pick up a book and return the book.
All right. So another thing, China is part of the game now, where so you find something that made in America sells for $10. You go on Temu or Alibaba and you find it for $1, made in China. You buy it from China and then you put it on eBay for $5. People will arbitrage. So yeah, I mean, this stuff's always going to happen.
I think more will be this stuff happening. People with a little bit of credit available on their credit cards or elsewhere, they will top out their credit cards to a maximum with some stuff or cash advances or any other way. Whatever they purchase, they will sell on eBay or any other way they can do it, and stop making any payments to credit cards and just collapse their accounts. This way, you say have reasonable credit, let's say, on all your cards together, let's say you have $50,000. So if you collapse your credit cards, because realistically, you don't need it in a situation like this, an economy going down, the investments are going down, and it's going to get just worse. It's not going to be any better. So at least you got a war chest of some 40, 50,000, whatever you can generate. And it will last for some time. So you will declare bankruptcy with this credit cards, and you don't care. You don't need their credits anyway, because when you have no job, when you have nothing else to do, your investments are collapsing, and maybe you have paid up house, but most likely you even don't have that. So you will lose your house just as well along the way. But it will allow you to survive for some reasonable time, for a year maybe. That's only your chance. Other than that, you'll be taken to the cleaners and no money for you. And then you go where? You go to a soup kitchen. That's it.
So you're saying some stuff that's reminiscent of 2008 when there was.
It's much worse. It's much worse because 2008, it was mainly a real estate situation. Really. Now, if you're taking your economy now, it's falling apart in every department. This number 4.3 GDP growth is a fiction, because all it does, it shows the AI investments are going up, and one company is buying shares of another company, like NVIDIA investing $100 billion in OpenAI. Oh, and just the day before yesterday, NVIDIA says, well, it was a letter of intent. There was no obligation to invest 100 billion or a trillion or just anything. All it is a letter of intent. We wish a good luck to OpenAI. Just go and find another lender and another company, and good luck to you. So in many cases, oh, by the way, Trump told many times that because of these tariffs, he brought $17 trillion of investment to U.S. economy. So U.S. is booming, everybody has great, well-paying jobs and so on. Where is that 17 trillion? Rick, have you heard about even 1 trillion being invested?
No.
Any new jobs generated? What is it? It's
No.
another lie of the criminal.
So I looked up credit card default rates, and yeah, they are setting records. People are already bailing out of their, they're behind on their payments. Um, and if you overlaid, there's a map of where people are defaulting, and it looks like the reddest places on the default map are also the reddest places for voters.
Of course. Yeah.
You got Texas, you got Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia.
That's something I must tell you about upcoming midterm elections, except one thing: Trump will send armies of ICE to all democratic states to prevent people to vote. That's what's coming. It's a typical fascist action, but it's nothing else but fascist regime. So of course they will do it, and I'm not sure what is the remedy for that.
Well, I mean, there are only 22,000 ICE.
Also, he'll make it 200,000. He'll make it 2 million eyes. He'll make it as many as he needs. He is determined to win midterm election. Democrats will say, okay, well, maybe independents will lose this time. Maybe they will vote more for Democrats. They will not. They will be prevented for any votes. Okay? They will be beaten at the voting stations, and they will be lucky to survive, to stay alive.
So there are 80 million voters on the Democratic side. And
but it doesn't mean that they're in one place, one city. They're all dispersed over the country. And 5 well-armed ICE people, they can withstand 500 voters easily. By killing 1 or 2, the others will run away.
All right, so let's see if ICE okay, so ICE has added 12,000 new officers and agents in about 4 months.
Okay.
And we know that they're hiring but they're really bad at background checks. Yeah, by the election, they might be able to add another 10,000 to get their total force up to 30,000. They're not going to be able to get it up to 200,000.
But all they need is to mind voters in democratic states, especially in a big states like California, New York, a few others, and that's it. And that's more than enough to win an election.
I don't know. I think if you piss off voters enough, they will show up.
I don't think so. Americans are being scared. Nobody wants to get killed. So they'll say, okay, so there's 2 more years. You have to go through the hell and with Trump and his people and so on, but at least he will stay alive.
Well, I mean, in this up in Minneapolis, this has been going on for what, 6 weeks now?
Yeah.
And protesters are still showing up there. And Minneapolis only has 430,000 people.
Right.
Los Angeles has 8 million people. We don't have to work very hard to have as many people out on the streets as they do in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and climate is a little bit warmer than in Minneapolis.
Yeah. And also people in LA are beautiful. If you think you can go to a protest, you might hook up with somebody, you will show up at that But I haven't been to many protests, but when I was younger, the only reason I'd go any place is if I thought that there might be girls there.
True. What worries me is it was Steve Bannon who suggested that ICE will be during the election will be on the voters' booths, especially in democratic states. So Bannon had an opportunity probably also to calculate how many ICE officers and people will be available and which state they will go or so on. So maybe he's a little bit more knowledgeable than we are.
I mean, the nice difference between MAGA and the Nazis is the Nazis were pretty smart, and MAGA is less smart. So, Bannon can talk, about, make all these plans, but he's not necessarily super competent, that guy.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's your take on what's going on in the world? We were just talking about some of the things that are going on. By the way, it looks like Planeteer's Shyam Sankar says Americans are being lied to about AI job displacement fear. So he's actually downplaying the notion that there's going to be a lot of job displacement. And that's the CEO, I think, of Palantir. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sasha, but I think that's the CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, people are losing jobs. We got the right now. I think they pointed out this is one of the highest layoffs since 09 or 08. In terms of January, we had 22,000 jobs created, and it's just a bad time right now. But again, as I always say, what do you expect when you put a guy in charge who bankrupted casinos? The dude doesn't know how to run a business, but we're going to believe everything he says.
Well, apparently he also made another journalist mad because he told a female reporter.
Before we move on, let's talk. I said it this morning. I'll say it again. Cory Doctorow, who writes on tech, says AI doesn't have to be good at your job. AI just has to convince your boss it's good at your job, and your boss will get rid of you. AI is not great. AI needs a ton of babysitting, but don't underestimate the ability of managers to not understand what your job is about.
Do you think managers understand what their job is all about? Do you think they're super smart people? Not at all. Not at all.
The more middle managers, the clunkier and crappier your company is.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very true. What is our thoughts? Apparently, Trump got himself in trouble with journalists again because apparently he told a reporter to smile. I guess he was frowning at one of his statements, and now a lot of people are pushing back on him because I guess he was trying to be kind or whatever, claiming he was being kind, but he told her to smile, and now the reporters and the journalist community is up in arms, particularly women reporters, because it does seem somewhat, well, not somewhat, I'm going to borrow Jatovi's word, to be truthful and everything like that. It's very condescending because it's a condescending.
It's like getting mad at the sun. Any day every day, Trump is going to say some stupid shit. He went to the prayer breakfast this morning, and he said a little bit about God and the importance of prayer. And then he started bitching about the election of 2020 and talking about how great he is. And the audience, I guess, audibly groaned at one point. I'm not like, he's going to be a dick. He's always a dick. That's not the news. The news is the effects of his policies.
There is a very interesting article about Chinese cars coming to Canada. And the US has a policy of not allowing Chinese cars on its roads. So considering that Canadians are making very few trips to United States, so United States will not see a lot of Chinese cars. But in Canada, they will be very popular. There is already growing demand for these cars. So it will be a very good replacement for US cars in Canada. And so that will spell out, especially if some of these Chinese cars will be also manufactured in Canada, it will spell the end of the free trade and car associations between Canada and US, and probably Mexico just as well. So Trump is killing the North American auto industry for good. And that's what we are having.
I can put some numbers to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Chinese cars, especially electric cars,
yes, mostly
49,000 units are coming into Canada at only 6% tariff, rising to 70,000 by 2031, with an average price point of 35,000 Canadian, which is 26,000 American, compared to 50,000 for the average new American car. So you're going to be able to buy Chinese cars for half of what you pay for American cars. So yeah, we are in America are screwing ourselves.
Big time. Yeah.
Well, if you also look at the technology behind it as well, a lot of the technology in these new, because I tried to show off some of the Chinese cars that were out there, from the Xiaomi car to, I mean, they've got a lot. Like BYD has been putting out some great products. But the thing is, again, all those great products, like there's that Xiaomi car that is comparable to, we'll say, a Lexus or whatever else, or even, top of the line cars here, Mercedes, so on and so forth. And yeah, that Xiaomi car, it's, as you said, $60,000. But for the same price, or for a $100,000, you know what you can get? A car that's comparable in the US. So yeah, BYD has taken over the number one spot in the electric vehicle market. That's why Tesla is struggling. They're having issues, and now because of what Trump did in terms of the EV rebates and stuff like that, and cutting back on the EV market, Tesla's really going to struggle now because they're not going to be able to compete with BYD and what they're putting out, as well as the other Chinese makers and also the Japanese makers that are putting out across the globe. So that's another reason why they shifted to robots and talking about AI, because that's where the US is trying to put the money, but they're forgetting about the whole EV market because and that's another thing with the China trade deals, or actually, they would be the Chinese trade deals. So because of what Trump has done, all these other countries, have started to rely on China because they're a much more reliable trading partner, and they've lowered their tariffs, giving an open market, and that free trade that we had with Canada is now, that trade with China. Or in Africa has the trade market with China. All these other markets are opening up. So this administration has really harmed us in so many ways.
Also, China is going to do loss leader strategies to make the market. They might take loss. They might price the cars so they don't even make any money on them to get people used to buying Chinese vehicles. Because the idea that you would buy a vehicle from China strikes a lot of people as weird. But it's not weird if you can get a $60,000 luxury vehicle for $35,000.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what, honestly, a lot of the Chinese market, because they do a lot of cheaper goods. We can be honest about it. A lot of the cheaper goods are coming out of China, which makes it a struggle for our market. But that's how they price. Like even in the gaming market, there's one of the biggest games, and I'll admit it's a great game. They packed a lot of stuff into this free to play game, but that free to play game, coming from a company like EA, which on a side note, EA ended up being bought out by a Saudi company. But needless to say, that Chinese game, if it were on any other or made by any other developer, it's not free to play, and it wouldn't have as much as it does if it were free to play. So the Chinese market, what they're putting out right now, they're putting out a lot of stuff. They're doing kind of like an anime blitz with the market, in a sense, where they're working a lot of people a lot of hours, and they're putting out some quality products. Like the cars they're putting out are quality. The games, I hate to say it, the games they're putting out are quality. But that lends us to the only way to break that, or the only way to overcome that, you got to really negotiate. And you got to really open up the doors in China, because that's what's breaking apart the anime side of things. If you don't know, the Japanese animated or the manga market, they used to, put out thousands of, comics like each week. And that would work the artists to death. But the artists noticed how the American market was making much more money, and they were actually doing it in a less repetitive way, or a less, working into the bone way, but they were putting out more content. So a lot of the anime that you're going to see, or the manga that you see coming up, won't have that long runs like they used to in the past. But it's because that market got opened up to a whole nother culture, and that was able to kind of navigate that scene. So if you do that with cars, you do that with other things, I mean, it's competition. It'll help. But
I buy some cheap crap from China, and some of the cheap crap is crap, but a lot of the cheap crap is really good, surprisingly well made. China has 140 industrial cities with populations of more than 1 million. They are manufacturing their asses off. They can afford to be patient, and they can watch us America self-destruct into idiocy, and they don't have to lean forward. They can just like flood us with well-made cheap goods and watch the world turn to freaking China.
And in all honesty, that is what a lot of what they're doing, but we grabbed the market with a dominant player, and now and it's been going on for a while in terms of our adversarial ways towards China rather than our ways of navigating and because yes, China does steal technologies. However, there's that's something that we're going to have to navigate even now, because what do you think AI is doing? AI is stealing all this stuff now. So it's a matter of trying to figure out ways to navigate the scene and, not be so adversarial, but be more in a competitive market to where you're trying to compete with China. Because, I mean,
we're going to lose the next 3 years because we have retards in charge of America. Also, India just became the most populous country on earth, and they have 53 cities with more than 1 million people. So as India gets its shit together, we're going to get.
Here's the real crazy part. The real crazy part, and Sasha, you can attest to this. And this is dealing with, I guess, stocks and how manufacturing goes and where the companies go to. So right now in the U.S. is trying to fight for manufacturing jobs. The manufacturing jobs that they're talking about were the AI videos that China put out talking about they're trying to have the MAGA world create shoestrings for shoes. That's done in smaller countries, or in China, they have a whole factory and all that is already established. But they want to bring that back to the U.S. Is it that's going to help anything in manufacturing?
We're not bringing manufacturing back. The Trump's tariffs didn't do shit. Last year, the U.S. added 584,000 jobs. That is 1/4 of the average number of jobs added per year from 2011 through 2019. We are consistently screwing ourselves.
And then, I mean, going into the whole manufacturing scene, Sasha, with that manufacturing, if we focused the U.S. or even, and this is, I think, where Canada's headed, focusing more so on the end game where you're putting together the end model and not putting together the shoestrings of the shoe. You mean it's
the problem is that Americans don't want the manufacturing jobs. They want to be managers. They want to be salesmen. They want to be decision makers. They don't want to go down and do the actual jobs, manufacturing or anything else. This is why this policy against immigrants is completely wrong, because immigrants are paying enormous amount of money as taxes to U.S. government. Because for the first few years that the immigrants arrive to America, they are honest people. They want to do a productive life. and be above the law. Now, when they're living for 10, 20 years, they're becoming Americanized, and now they're using all the kind of loopholes and all the stupid tax lawyers, and they will start evading taxes, and they will not be paying as much anymore. So immigrants, you need fresh blood, fresh immigrants who are honest, hardworking people who are willing to pay taxes 100% all the way, without loopholes, without running anywhere, and so on. Once they will be establishing themselves, they will have access to tax lawyers or so on. That will be basically what happened is that the hard-working immigrants in time become lazy American idiots. That's all what there is to it.
And if you think about everything, Sasha, you're spot on there. And there's nothing wrong. What people don't like to hear is that the Americans don't want to take jobs. Well, they did a study, and that backs everything you said. The Americans don't want to take the farming jobs. It was done. That study's been done. They don't want these. They want to be the top line employee making all the money and telling everybody else what to do. Yep. And there's a study that, like I said, there's studies that back that up. Also, if you think about it, what you were talking about the immigrants and them paying taxes.
Exactly.
Immigrants, the undocumented immigrants do not get tax benefits. They do not get federal. So the money that they put in is in the coffer. It doesn't come back to them. So
Yes.
if you take that money out of the whole economy, that means you're losing out on the money that you're just basically free money making. You're making free money. You're taking that out of the coffer. So now we become even more strapped than what we were before. So it's just we need immigrants. We need undocumented immigrants as well. They help our economy.
What's the difference between legal and illegal immigrants? The difference is that the legal paid $10,000 to a lawyer who went through the hoops and to fill up the forms and so on. And illegal saved $10,000. In some cases, they simply didn't have access to $10,000. And in some cases they had, but they said, why would I give the stupid lawyer $10,000? I can use it for myself, for my family, buy a car, maybe when I will just establish myself or so on. So the difference only is this. Let's see, after 7 years, both legal and illegal, they are working in similar jobs, making similar tax payments, and have raised kids. They're sending them to schools. They're working. They have a house or renting something. They have a car. So what's the difference? Think about that. I'm not talking about criminals. That's a different story. But if they're not criminals, then I wouldn't give a damn whether this one paid $10,000 to a lawyer and another guy did. Actually, the other guy who didn't pay $10,000, he's a smarter one. He figured out he can use $10,000 for his family to feed them, to go out maybe a couple of times a week. So I don't, the legal immigrants who stupidly pay their lawyers $10,000, I don't cherish them. I don't care for them. They made their choice. Good luck.
That makes a lot of sense. But we're going to wrap up because I got to get to the Coco McMillan show. I know tomorrow we've got the Ukraine-Russia show, and we've also got the taping of the show with the chess show. I'll actually be doing both of those shows from the Cultural Arts Center and everything like that. But I've got a computer over there as well. So
I think Kim is also doing a show tomorrow all about the Epstein files.
Yes. No, that's not tomorrow. That's next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. Next, if she wants to wait till after the Super Bowl, so that'll be on the Tuesday after the Super Bowl.
Okay, all right.
But on that note, we're going to get on out of here, and we'll be having some other shows, including Coco. Right. But great discussion. Enjoyed you, gentlemen, and we'll see y'all on tomorrow on World Edition, and I'll see you, Sasha, on Russia, Ukraine, and China. So we'll catch you later on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.